Good morning.
It's good to be with you on this beautiful spring day. All of us want to be successful. I doubt if there's anybody who would raise their hand here if I asked you if you don't want to be successful. Many times our success is linked to the inner peace that we have, especially as we move along our own spiritual path. And this is something that a lot of us are working to achieve, and probably one of the reasons that we come here every Sunday. In his book, 10 Secrets for Success in Inner Life, the late Wayne Dyer outlines how we can go about becoming successful and also achieving inner peace while we are in the process of being successful. In this three-part series, we will look at a number of strategies we can use to being successful and to having inner peace. I think all we need to do sometimes is look at the corporate world or people that are striving to have a better job or to get a promotion sometimes in their current job. And while they may achieve a certain degree of success, they lack inner peace that sometimes comes with living a happy life. And I would suggest that being successful is actually tied in to having inner peace, something that we want every single day. And we're going to talk about some areas that we can work on that can help us to experience that inner peace while we are being successful at the same time. Some of these strategies include not having resentments, giving up our past, appreciating our divinity, and avoiding thoughts that weaken us. And over the next 3 times that I speak, we will actually be going through all of these. So we'll have an opportunity to explore in more depth that how we can achieve the success and inner peace that I think we all want. Ultimately, our goal is to be the best we can be, and we are capable of doing that as well. Our message today will focus on 4 different areas. These include having an open mind that is free of attachment, not dying with our music inside us. And some of you probably have heard that expression, and we'll talk a little bit more about it today. Not giving away what we don't have, and embracing the silence. So 4 good practices that we can engage in that will help us to have the life we deserve. These practices will help us move along the path of success and have inner peace at the same time. It will help us give us the kind of life we want to live. So let's take a look at the first area. And the first area is having an open mind free of attachment. And sometimes that can be a challenge for some of us. It is okay to have desires and to want something. The trick is not being attached to what we want. Some of us that have done some studying in Buddhist practices know that attachment is the cause of a lot of suffering that we experience. So it's important, though, that we let go of the conditioning in our life, because sometimes part of the attachments we have comes from how we were raised or the community we were raised. Could possibly be a former church that we've attended. There are all types of things that we may be attached to because of our conditioning. This also can be influenced by where we live, our race or ethnicity, our gender, and the political orientation we may have inherited from our parents. So as you can see from that not exhaustive list, that a lot of times our attachments come from where we were born, who our parents were, what religion we were raised in, what political party we were affiliated with. And a lot of times has to do with more of sticking to the tradition of the way we were raised, rather than that we necessarily believe in some of those things. This also keeps us from having an open mind to all the possibilities of life, because the possibilities of our life are actually infinite. We just have to believe that that is actually in store for us. When we are influenced by our background and past beliefs, this also keeps us from having an open mind. So think about it. A lot of times when people talk about politics, or they talk about a particular tradition, especially if they come from a certain part of the country, you can't get anywhere because your mind is already closed. So the trick is to be open to exploring new things. Probably most of us here, because I know there aren't too many here that were actually born in unity or in New Thought, we come from another tradition, so we already have let go of some of those attachments because we're here, and that is a big thing. Sometimes I always wonder about people that were born in unity or New Thought, that how their life must be different. They might say, well, what do you mean get rid of attachments? But even in unity, we are continuing to keep exploring ideas as well too. And that's something that we're encouraged to do. We're not encouraged to be dogmatic as we move along our spiritual path. It is important we give up our attachment to the beliefs we have inherited so we can have an open mind. So it really starts with beliefs. Whereas unity talks about, and the five principles talks about, it really starts in mind. It starts with our thoughts. And that's where a lot of our issues derive from. A closed mind keeps us in a frame of mind that is pessimistic. Much of the inventions that have come into being over the last several centuries have their origins in people that have open minds. If you take a look at or read some biographies of like great artists and people of the past like Leonardo da Vinci, he was imagining flying at that time. And I believe he lived at a time approximately 400 to 500 years prior to flight even being possible. So think about that. Some people would have said there's no way we would travel into outer space. And we have done that. And we have done those things because of being able to have an open mind and to seeing the possibilities that exist all around us. The Bible encourages us to have an open mind and to examine our beliefs. And I'm going to read Romans 12:2 for you. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you may prove what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So we're actually being encouraged to look at our own beliefs. And we are evolving spiritually. And as a movement, we are evolving as well. And that's something that's important too. It is likely that our founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore's beliefs would be a little bit more nuanced today due to the advancements. And our movement actually encourages that. So just because I say something from the platform or some other unity luminary says something, that doesn't mean you should not question what they have to say. I always say when somebody tells you, I'm your guru, listen to everything I say, run out the other door. Run out the other door. And believe it or not, I've experienced some unity ministers that are like that. Not too many. Gratefully, not very many. But there's a few that want to be gurus. And that's something we need to keep our mind aware of. An open mind creates a miracle mindset in our life. The way we think creates the kind of life that we have. The miracle mindset is actually God consciousness in action. As has been said in the Bible, with God, everything is possible. And that possibility comes from having that consciousness. When we have an open mind, we bring miracles into our life. As Walt Whitman wrote, to me, every cubic inch of space is a miracle. Isn't that interesting? If you view life not as being routine, but everything in life as a miracle. If we see everything as a miracle, then that's the kind of life we will experience. There will be miracles all around us. The first step to creating this open mind is to let go of attachments. Releasing our attachments involves 1, a mind that is open to everything, and 2, a mind that is attached to nothing. Isn't that interesting? We got to be open, but yet not attached at the same time. So it can be a little tricky, but yet it is something that we need to work on. Releasing attachment starts with letting go of being identified with things like our body and our possessions. And sometimes that's hard to do when we turn on the TV and we see all the ads about how your hair should look and all the perfumes and body deodorants and soaps that we should be using. Because all of that is appealing to our ego. These are, as I said, thoughts of the ego. We must let spirit be the guiding force in our life. This does not mean that we cannot have strong desires. If God did not mean for us to have desires, we wouldn't have them in the first place. But, again, we cannot be attached to what those desires are. If we think peaceful thoughts, we will bring peace into every facet of our life. On the other hand, if we are attached to being right or think we need something, we will not have peace. But instead will continually live a life of striving. Have you ever noticed that many times when somebody wants to reach the peak of their profession, or to be paid the most of their profession, they never reach it. They keep looking for the next level, keep looking for the next raise. And as a result, what do they lose? They lose that inner peace that we all need, and something that's very important to us. In our lives, we must detach from the desired outcome and let people choose to be who they are. Many times we might have a desire that somebody changes, but we have no control over that, and we need to remember that. In this way, we will be successful and at the same time attain inner peace. The second area we're going to talk about this morning is not dying with our music in us. The great psychologist Abraham Massillon wrote, "A musician must make music, an artist must paint, a poet must write, if he be at peace with himself. What a man can be, he must be." So there are times when there's something that we are passionate about and want to do. And there's a lot of people that'll be told, don't be a musician, they don't make any money. I don't know if Sebastian will tell you. Any comment?
It's true for some. I think I do okay.
Okay.
But then I'm teaching, so.
And then you hear the stories a lot of times when you go to local libraries or fairs, the starving artist out. You hear that as well too. But if that is what you're passionate about, there will be a way made open for you to accomplish those types of things in your life. Our heart tells us what's important to us. If we're not doing what we love, we may feel an inner sense of being frustrated. Intuitively, we know something is not right. And there are stories and stories out there. I remember reading a story once of a gentleman who was a successful lawyer, and the only reason he became a lawyer was because his father was a lawyer and his grandfather was a lawyer. But he loved animals. Guess what? He quit being a lawyer and he became a veterinarian instead. You do what you love to do. Being passionate about something will lead us to take risks. This is necessary when we came here to do something that fulfills our purpose. Fear is what keeps us from living our passions. There is no such thing as failure, only results. And we can never fail if we keep seeking to do what we're passionate about and what we love to do. We only fail when we give up. And that's something that's important to remember. The intuitive desire to fulfill our purpose connects us to our heart and what God sent us here to be. The third area we're going to look at this morning. You can't give away what you don't have. Sometimes people will say, if your car has an empty gas tank, you're not going to get anywhere. And if you're empty yourself, as far as giving, you're not going to be able to give either. When we are challenged by difficult people or situations, it is difficult to be successful unless we have love inside us to give. So our love tank needs to be filled up. We need to have a full tank of that love to give to people in our lives. We cannot give away what we don't have. And Jesus made this interesting comment at Matthew 5 and verse 44. There, Jesus said, "But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." And that's something we're familiar with. Therefore, when we have love inside us, we can even respond to hurtful behavior with love. But a lot of times, especially those of us that like to be of service to others, and those of us that like to help, we just end up running on a low tank of love. So part of that low tank of love probably comes from not having the kind of love for ourselves that we need as well too. We need to have that love for ourselves if we are going to share it with others. If we come from a place of love, we will attract higher forms of energy into our lives. In order to do so, we must develop love for ourselves. The universe responds to us with the same energy level that is inside us. So what's inside of us is something that we are going to see on the outside of us as well too. If we manifest self-love and self-respect in our life, we will receive the same type of energy back from the universe. We can give what is already inside us. The purpose of our life must be about giving. Our life is actually meant to be one of service. But before we can be of service to others, we have to have that full gas tank of love. Embracing the silence is the last area we're going to be talking about this morning. Our world is full of hustle and bustle. Sometimes it seems like that whether we have a meditation practice and we do it first thing in the morning or in the evening, or whether we do it here at church, it seems like sometimes we don't have enough time. Actually, we need to make time, because one of the ways to fill up that gas tank of love is actually to embrace that silence. Scientist Blaise Pascal commented, "All man's miseries derive from not being able to sit quietly in a room alone." Isn't that something? Some people are very comfortable being in a room alone. Some people are very uncomfortable being in the silence. And that is something that we need to be able to do, because it's in that silence that a lot of times creativity from God comes our way. The Bible also talks about the benefits from being in the silence. And I'm going to read Psalm 62:5 and see what the psalmist has to say. "For God alone my soul waits in silence, for my hope is from him." Sometimes people replenish themselves by going into the silence. Sometimes it may be going for a weekend retreat, being in the silence. I had heard of a gentleman that went down to a remote part of South America just before 9/11 occurred, and he decided to get away from all of civilization. And for a whole year, he had no radio contact. He had enough of food and everything to take care of himself while he was down there. So he was in a very big wilderness area of South America. So when 9/11 occurred, he didn't even know it happened. So a year later, when they came to pick him up, but that was one of the most refreshing things he experienced. He just was down there by himself in the silence. I think he took one of his pets with him. So I guess he did have some companion. But still, he was replenished by that experience. We can be refreshed as well when we go into the silence. In the silence, we find God. Peace comes from the space between our thoughts. On average, we have over 60,000 thoughts per day. Think about that. Our mind is always going. It's always thinking about something. Sometimes we don't even know that it's thinking about something, and it is. Mother Teresa once described silence this way: God is the friend of silence. See how nature, trees, grass, grown in silence, See the stars, the moon, and the sun, how they move in silence? We need silence to be able to touch souls. So we need to have that connection, and that connection with others can be enhanced by our going into the silence. It should not be a surprise that we need space between our thoughts. When we listen to music, it is the space between the notes that actually make it an enjoyable experience. Can you think of a song that had no pauses and it was just pure music? I don't know, is that even possible?
You need space between the notes.
Yes, there it is, right there, right there. So why don't we need space between our thoughts? If we need space for a good musical piece, shouldn't we also need space with our thoughts as well? All of creation comes out of the silence. Our thoughts emerge from the silence. The words we speak come out from this void as well. Being in the silence helps us to replenish our energy. Silence helps reduce fatigue and is the basis for creativity. We are more creative when we have that opportunity to be in the silence. Sometimes our best ideas come from there. Meditation is a powerful way for us to tap into this silence. And during meditation, we have the opportunity to observe our thoughts, becoming the observer rather than someone that is constantly thinking and wondering what's going to be said next. The gaps between our thoughts help us to experience the peace of God. Meditation is a practice that can be utilized in a lot of different times during the day. We can do a meditation by going out to the labyrinth out here and do a walking meditation. We don't necessarily have to have our eyes closed in order to do a meditation. In order to do meditation, it's important that we recognize we don't have to be sitting in a chair to do so. We can actually, like I said, we can do it while we're walking. We can even do it in our own car. Wayne Dyer made this recommendation. He says every time he used to be stopped at a red light, he used to meditate. And he knew that the meditation period was over when the car behind him honked their horn. So we can meditate and create all kinds of opportunities for meditation if we just look for them. Our meditating helps calm us so we can be at peace with others. Having inner peace and success can be ours. We increase the likelihood of this when we have an open mind, free of attachment, not die with our music inside us, and don't give away what we don't have, and embrace the silence. Next week, we will look at 3 additional steps to success and inner peace. These will include not solving a problem with the same mind that created it. It's a famous expression put together by Albert Einstein. Recognizing there are no justified resentments, and giving up our personal history. Namaste. Sit straight up if that's the position you're most comfortable in. Your feet firmly planted on the floor in front of you. your eyes gently closed. I am a successful, capable child of God. My accomplishments may not equate to someone else's idea of what success is. However, the steps we take toward achieving our goals may be similar. My success begins with faith in God and in myself. I have faith that I'm being divinely guided for the right path to reach my goals and to fulfill my dreams and ambitions. With every experience, I gain new insight in what it means to be successful in life. Success is measured by my joy and self-satisfaction. I find myself doing what I love. I give thanks for this insight and for the blessings of God that come my way. Each achievement is part of God's plan for my life. There are many more to come. Success is mine. The presence of God within is my peace. The presence of God is within me and is all around me. Like a comforting, ever-present friend, God is always available to me. I can easily access the peaceful stillness of spirit. I experience God when I see the good in myself and in others. As I go within and connect with the calming energy of God, any stress or anxiety dissipates. I know God is working for my highest good, and I am able to trust myself. As I behold the divine in others, I interact with them in kinder and gentler ways. My relationships strengthen, and I create peaceful connections everywhere I go. I am safe and calm because the peaceful stillness of God is always with me. The presence of God within is my peace. Now we will enter into a few moments of silence as we enter that place of inner peace that exists within each and every one of us.